great stirring is underway. War is inevitable. There are forces more powerful than the will of the gods, my son.
Efter næsten 2 års ventetid er fantasy-serien Percy Jackson og Olymperne endelig klar med sin anden sæson.
Brace yourself, Percy.
Omdrejningspunktet er naturligvis stadig den unge Percy, som opdager, at han er søn af selveste Poseidon, den græske gud, og at han derfor også har nogle helt særlige magiske kræfter.
Let's go do the impossible.
Og nok en gang drager Percy og hans venner ud på et storslået og underholdende eventyr, som er gennemsyret af flotte billeder og mindeværdige figurer. Inklusiv Percys halvbror, kyklopen Tyson, som er en herlig tilføjelse til seriens allerede pragtfulde persongalleri. For 2 år siden interviewede vi seriens skabere, Jonathan Steinberg og Shotz, og dem har vi talt med igen, sammen med deres nye kollega, Craig Silverstein. Og så har vi også talt med selveste Rick Riordan, manden bag de oprindelige Percy Jackson-bøger, som er blevet solgt i over 180 millioner eksemplarer på verdensplan. Og Rick Riordan arbejder ikke blot som producer på tv-serien, han har også været med til at skrive manuskripterne til adskillige afsnit. Og det er nok også derfor, at tv-serien er markant bedre end de 2 Percy Jackson-film fra start 10'erne, som Riordan tit har kritiseret i interviews.
It's Chariot of Damnation.
Looks like a New York City cab.
Same difference.
The exact date, please.
It's all connected, child. Your satyr friend is in a dark, dark place, far from anything he's ever known.
Anger! Stop doling out sight for free. They haven't paid yet.
Yes, I did.
So this is a huge pleasure for me. I'm a big fan of you. I'm a big fan of this universe that you've created.
Oh, thank you.
And when you wrote these original books, you were not only just like the writer, you were in fact the caster, the production designer, the set dresser of this whole story. And now you're sharing your vision, you're sharing this story with so many craftspeople and actors. I mean, that must be interesting. Is it also sometimes difficult?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, the media are so different. And when one is a novelist, well, you're right. One is in control of all the elements, and I don't have to consider pesky little things like production budgets, for instance, or which actors might be available. I don't need to worry about that. I just write the story. But yes, I learned very early on that making a TV show is definitely a team effort. There is no way one person can control all the variables. You need a team of hundreds of dedicated people to do this. And I learned that there are many things that I don't know about telling a story in this format, and I had to rely on the great crew that we have to help with that. So yes, it's been a good experience.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because, of course, you're not only a producer on the show, you have co-written directly several of the episode screenplays alongside other writers, and I guess that must be so interesting because then you're going right into the machinery again, and you're allowed to sort of alter or tweak, if you're so inclined, you know, your original material in a way alongside another writer. That must be interesting.
It is very different. Yes, I think screenwriting and book writing are about as different as two things can be that have the word writing in the name. Except for being called writing, the goal is different, the process is different. It's a very steep learning curve, but I've been lucky to have a lot of patient people to sort of guide me through that process.
Yeah, what are some of the main differences? Because, of course, when you read a screenplay, the amount of details, of course, about the environment and setting and the internal dialogue, of course, isn't there, not to the same amount at least. But what were sort of the biggest differences you felt as you compared the two processes?
I think the biggest difference for me was that when you're writing a book, the writing is the final product. It is the story. With a screenplay, the writing is never the final product. It is only a means to an end. And so the script will be changing all the time. Even after the filming has begun, the script is still changing. So that's a very different way of looking at what writing is and what it is for. And it took me a while to realize that.
If you ever feel like you don't fit, like the world doesn't make sense, then you might be a part of our world. So don't give up, because we might need you for the fight ahead.
I'm a huge fan of this show. I think it's just like pure adventure entertainment. And I can't wait to share it with my daughter. She's only 20 months old now, so she's a bit too young for the monsters of the ocean, you know.
Yes.
And with all this positivity, I don't want to rip up in some painful memories, but I know you've previously described the movie adaptations as, having put your life's work through the meat grinder. And I guess making this show, being so involved in that, is it in any way sort of rectifying the pain of those original adaptations where you weren't directly involved?
I think what it has done mostly for me is help me understand the process from the inside and to see how these things happen and to see how easy it is for an adaptation to go wrong. So I don't take it as personally now as I once did. I see now, okay, there are so many ways for an adaptation to go wrong at so many steps in the process that, okay, I get it now. I get how this happens. So that's been enlightening, and yes, I do think that's helped me.
Save Clover.
Percy, we gotta find him.
Save Camp.
For the key to our survival, you must quest to the Sea of Monsters.
It's so nice to see the three of you. And
that is incredible. Yeah. Can you tell us every one of the movies you have there?
Of course, let me actually have a listen in alphabetical order. Actually, I do have like an Excel document that's also states like how much each of them cost. And I did want to use this as a segue to my first question because, of course, one of my favorite elements here in the second season is on the ship with all the undead. I fell in love, of course, with Mitch from Blockbuster, who fell in the streaming wars, of course, that got really hairy there at the end. And I just want to say he deserves his own spin-off, I feel. But actually, all kidding aside, that must be one of the pleasures of working on an adaptation like this. You get to sprinkle in your own characters, their own storylines, your own lines, even though you're making the show because you love the raw material, of course. But to get to put your own stamp on it must be one of the big pleasures of doing this.
Yeah, it's fun to find those inflections where they can fit. That particular character was a joke pitched by Tamara Becker, who's a writer on the show, and she was always pitching things like that, and we were always it's not like you take every one. We were holding off on so many, and that one, Mitch, was just too good to pass up. It's a difficult balance between something that is scary and something that is funny, and the right mix of a bunch of undead soldiers from across different time periods. And it's just given that last little tweak with someone like that who has an inventory gun, for his weapon.
Now that you mentioned yourself, of course, this borderline between what's scary and what's funny, I must imagine that's also one of the challenges of a show like this, where you do have a lot of dark imagery, dark characters. You go to the realm of the undead, you go to literally very dark places, and then striking the right tone in terms of getting the families in there and the kids, but also making it intense and scary enough for the parents and the quote-unquote a little older viewers as well.
Yeah. Well, we go to our own DVD collections, basically, right? And we see like, oh, you know what? That movie that I loved as a kid, that's got some really scary stuff in it. Yeah. And I handled it. Like, I can handle this. Like, we can, like, there's a thing when you get older, you have kids, and you realize, like, oh, we can't scare these kids. And it's interesting. We have a lot of discussions about what is actually scary to a kid. Is it the monster with the teeth, or is it the parent who leaves you at the grocery store? That's much more terrifying, right? That scene is much more disturbing. So it's a balance. It's a balance.
And we're always looking at that balance, like even in the smallest detail in VFX, like when we were working on the Minotaur from season 1, we have the benefit of the underpants, which kind of takes a little bit of the scariness away, but we were constantly like evaluating how scary do we want to make it, right? It needs to be real stakes. You need to feel like that monster is going to kill you. And at the same time, not so much that if we lose, 7-year-old kids running out of the room because they don't want to watch it, then we failed. So it's constantly working and navigating that balance.
Yeah, and like you say, like a lot of those classic movies that we watch also when we were kids, they have that sense of danger and that's those sense of stakes, and that's also a lot of why we remember them.
Starting this process, that was the scariest thing to me, the Cyclops. I think this is a show where the creatures are always a puzzle because they all come from a mythology that's thousands of years old. There are more iterations and versions of the Pegasus, of Chimera, Medusa.
Let me see your eyes.
Then you can count, how do you make these their own? How do you make them new without changing them so much that they're unrecognizable from the source material? And I've never seen a Cyclops that can emote on screen. I've never seen a Cyclops that can make you fall in love with him and want to protect him on screen. And that's mostly a technical challenge. In the first iteration, it's a technical challenge. How do you get that eye to give a performance? And I think the guys at ILM figured out a way to create a process where an actor could breathe life into it. And then I think finding Daniel at the same time, who was the actor to do that, was the solution to a puzzle that I think for a moment felt like, if one of these things is going to sink us, it's going to be this. There's just no solution on the board. And it did. And I think it was an amazing experience to watch both halves of that solution come together. If either of them didn't work, I don't know that this story works. I don't know that you can invest in that relationship properly if you don't believe that that there's some humanity in that Cyclops.
Now we're going on a quest.
Yeah, I love Tyson in this and the relationship that he has with Percy. It's so much the heartbeat of the second season.
I'm not gonna let some stupid monsters stand in my way.